Now, earlier, Beyond's business editor Rahul Karnkar spoke to Stephen Paglua, who is the founder and CEO of Bain Capital, regarding the private equity outlook and general trends. Listen in.
Welcome, Stephen.
Great to be here, Rahul.
Fantastic. So let's dive straight into it. What's your outlook for global funding this year?
I think we'll see an increase in global funding. We're really coming off a period of what was ultra low interest rates. And so it's taken a couple of years for sellers to adjust prices and adjust to the new normal, which actually are T-bill rates and interest rates that are more consistent of what they've been in the previous 40 years than post economic collapse in 2008. So we're back to more normalized interest rates, and I think the markets have adjusted to that now.
But based on what the central banks have said, the interest rates are not going to go down soon. It probably they're on a wait and watch mode. So what do you have to say on that?
Well, I think that, again, the markets, I think, have adjusted. We've had a period of these higher interest rates. And when I say higher, they're really not higher than they've been historically before we had the crisis in 2008. So I think we're back to the old normal of T-bill rates in the 5% range. And pricing has adjusted to that. And companies are performing pretty well. So I look forward to a good deal-making year for most of the private equity firms.
Right. And just on the private equity industry, which particular industry or sectors do you think will be in focus this year and going forward?
Technology continues to be a boom industry. As you know, there have been major advancements in AI. AI is penetrating almost every segment of business. Most CEOs are looking at domain-specific AI and how AI can help their companies be more productive. I think the AI revolution is going to be a big factor in the next 10 to 20 years, just like it was with the internet in 1999. So we'll see large growth and productivity growth as businesses implement AI systems that'll make them more productive. There is also, we're going through a 10 or 20-year energy transition from fossil fuels to more clean fuels. That's going to take a long time to happen. I don't think most governments are really well prepared for that, but there's going to be business opportunity there as people transition from the old fossil fuels to new kinds of power and new kinds of way to power the economy. And then I think, again, these interest rates, I believe, are going to remain like they were, relatively higher than in the past, because most governments have large deficits. And so I don't see a lot of relief from interest rates in the short term, and I think businesses have adjusted to that now, back to the old normal.
Right. Okay. You spoke about AI. How do you rate the funding craze in AI-related investments over the last few months and going forward? Because we've seen a lot of craze in that. So what do you have to say on that?
Well, as each of these new technologies and markets come out, analogous to the internet exploding in 1999, there are going to be winners and losers. And when you have hot markets, it contributes to overvaluation. So you have to be selective. But in general, AI is looking at a 20-year trend upward. And so I'm bullish on AI, and probably some of the high valuations are justified given the huge productivity gains that can happen in companies throughout the world by implementing those systems.
Right. Based on that, you said you have to be selective, because if you look at AI valuations across, they just seems to be in the stratosphere. So which in particular do you think are the ones that are going to benefit or take off from here?
Well, I think AI is different than the internet craze in 1999 in that I don't see one company that's going to dominate AI like a natural network monopoly company like Google has really become the dominant search engine. So I don't see that happening in AI, because there are domain-specific AI models that will work for hospitals, for healthcare, for different kinds of applications, transportation, and then there'll be what's called ubiquitous models that kind of cover everything, like ChatGPT. So there'll be different segments, and there'll be different models that are developed for different industries. So there'll be many winning companies who can specialize and actually penetrate those vertical markets.
Right. You spoke on clean energy. You spoke about that being one of the things that private equity industry will focus on as well going ahead. Can you explain a little more of what you think is the kind of investments that we can expect?
Well, I think you're going to see more. We have to have more of a movement into wind, to solar, other forms, maybe even nuclear power coming back, and that's going to require a lot of capital. Bain Capital has made some very successful investments in Japan and Japan Wind and wind power. And when you look at it, to kind of transition from historic, 100-year base of fossil fuels to new energies, we're still only something like less than 10% penetrated on clean energy. So that's going to have to be a growth area for the next 10 to 20 years. I think it's probably going to take much longer than people are saying to kind of make that transition.
What about the biotech industry? What's your view on that?
I think we are in a golden age of the biotech industry. When you think about it, 20 years ago, they mapped the human genome for the first time, and it cost billions of dollars to do that. Now you can get a genome mapping for around $100. So when you combine the fact that we have supercomputers, we have AI, and we can model various disease states, I think you're going to see a renaissance in biotech, and it's going to be a 10 to 20 year trend that's going to attack a lot of these diseases like cancer, diabetes, because we now understand the human system a lot better, and we can use computers to do a lot of things that had to be done manually in the past. So I think you're going to see a golden age in biotech as those companies come online.
What about the integration of biotech with AI? Because you spoke about that on tech for biotech. So do you see that taking off as well over the next decade or so?
Absolutely. I think AI is going to play a big role in making biotech more efficient, more productive. PAGS Group has just made a major investment in a company called Arena Bioworks. That's a revolutionary company that's going to attract the top scientists in the world. It's funded, started out with $500 million from people like Michael Dell and Jim Breyer, Michael Chambers, and the founder of Subway. And that's going to be predicated on using AI, taking the best demonstrated practices from universities, from pharma companies, putting scientists under one roof, a Bell Lab structure. And I think they are projecting to bring out 30 or 40 new drugs in the next 12 years using these technologies.
Now, if you have to look at the risk for private equity industry over the next decade, what would that be, according to you?
Private equity, when I started in private equity in the late 80s, it was a cottage industry, only a few firms doing it. The business model of private equity, I think, has proven to be very resilient, and the fundamental principles of having professional owner-operators drive business value has been a sustainable one. So I think the model is here to stay. I'm very bullish on private equity as a way to build companies. You don't need to do quarterly reports. You can invest for the long term, and the owners of the business are directly involved. And so it's been a great model and grown dramatically since I started with a few firms. Now there's thousands of firms, and it's gone global. Bain Capital started out as just a local, mainly U.S. company, and now we have offices all over the world, as do the major ones like Blackstone and Carlyle and many global firms with hundreds of billions of capital. So it's become an institution now, and fundamentally it's because the business model works. Working with management teams to grow business in a non-public environment has been very productive.
Right. Now we shift our focus slightly to the to sports-related ones. Stephen, you're also actively involved in sport, and you're the co-owner of the Boston Celtics. They're currently top of the Eastern Conference in the NBA and have been knocking on the door of the championship for the last few seasons, but haven't actually been able to cross the line. From a boardroom point of view, what are the plans to grow the franchise at a global scale?
The NBA, under the leadership of Adam Silver and previous to him, David Stern, has been really out ahead of all the trends globally. Basketball and football/soccer are two global games. And the whole world has changed with the advent of streaming and instant communications and connection to all these sports. So as internet companies and traditional broadcasters and streamers compete for the content, you've seen enormous growth, and now you can reach consumers all over the world. I was walking around Dubai and I saw people in Celtics jerseys, for example.
Right.
So I think we're only in the early stages of that, and global sports are going to continue to grow, and they're critical to attracting eyeballs to get on the advertisers' sites.
Right. Stephen, as co-chairman of Italian football club Atalanta, you're also part of the footballing ecosystem. You were previously interested in acquiring the Premier League giants Chelsea. Is there a possibility of future investments in any other English clubs?
You know, PAGS Group has a broad focus on soccer, football, and basketball. And so we're looking at many opportunities. We believe there's growth in a multi-club strategy. You can utilize some of the same analytic techniques and advertising and aggregating eyeballs across these different clubs. So yes, we're actively looking at clubs in England. We're looking at clubs in France. We're looking at clubs in Spain as part of a multi-club strategy. And I think that'll be a trend going forward.
Any particular club of interest, if I can ask?
If I said that, they'd have to shoot me. So that's confidential. We keep that confidential with the clubs. But there are a lot of interesting clubs out there.
Right.
You know, COVID has really precipitated these clubs needing capital, because it was a really tough period when you couldn't have people coming to the matches and ticket sales. So a lot of the clubs need capital investment, and those are the kinds of clubs we're looking for at PAGS Group, to use our expertise to improve and build those brands.
Right. I'm not sure if you're familiar with cricket, but American businessmen like the Glazer family have brought franchises in the UAE Cricket League, while major cricket cricket has also been established in America. Is getting involved in cricket on your agenda in the future, maybe near future?
Well, that might be a sticky wicket for us, because we really have focused on basketball and soccer as global sports, but I've seen the incredible growth in cricket in India. The 2020 format has proved to be fantastic for television, and obviously all the Indians that I know are obsessed with cricket. So I think it can be a global game, and there's growth there. So I applaud people like the Glazers for investing and trying to grow the sport.
Right. All right. Fantastic. It was lovely talking to you, Stephen. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thanks, Rahul. Appreciate it.